Aloha, and welcome to Global Connections at ThinkTech. My name is Michelle Higgins-Mahe, and I am an assistant professor at Hawaii Pacific University for the nursing department. I have here today with me Dr. Pamela Almeida. She is the chair of the Undergraduate Nursing Department. Welcome.
Hi, thank you.
So we would like to talk a little bit about how someone can get into nursing and the paths that they need to take in order to get there. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
One of the common questions that I get being in the department chair position is often people inquiring about becoming a registered nurse and asking the difference between the different degrees. There are several paths to becoming a registered nurse, and lots of times I think it gets people really confused. The two more common pathways currently are an associate degree, which is normally a 2-year degree that is usually offered at a community college. The other type of degree would normally be what we offer at HPU, which is a bachelor's degree in nursing. And that routinely is approximately 4 years if a student is going full-time.
Okay, and so what do they need prior to getting into that nursing program? Do they need, is there prerequisites? What is the path to get there?
One of the recommendations I have with, I talk to a lot of high school students who are thinking about becoming nurses. And one of the things I actually recommend that they all look at and consider is first doing something as simple as a Myers-Briggs test. It's a personality exam that can be done online for free. And it helps the child or the young person figure out, is nursing really for me? Just because someone said maybe you could be a nurse doesn't mean that everyone can be a nurse. And so it tests their different personality traits, and based on their personality traits, decides and helps them figure out if nursing would be for them or something in the health profession. Usually one of the questions or the answers that that student would have to have is that I like to help people. I feel rewarded when I help people, and that I think means I want to try to be a nurse. Once they've decided that, then if they're coming from high school, then the best route always is to meet with an academic advisor to be sure that they are on the right pathway for prerequisites. In nursing, the big prerequisites are always often science and math. Science is huge in the department because so much of what you do, the science is your foundation. And so you want to be sure that you're taking the right science prerequisites that are going to help lead you to the correct path for nursing.
Right. So is it possible for a student that has started in a community college to get into a university program, such as we have it?
Yeah, absolutely. We actually do have a lot of our students are transfer students coming not just locally but also from the mainland. And what oftentimes some of the students will have done is they first thought they would try the associate degree, getting their registered nurse, which is to get the registered nurse, you have to sit for a licensing exam. It's a national board exam. And after they've done that, they often find that maybe there were other paths in the nursing that they wanted to follow, but they required a minimum of a bachelor's degree. And at that time, that's when people realize maybe they want to come back and extend the degree another 2 years to get the bachelor's. And with that, we have a number of different paths that we can help people, whether they are coming with an associate's or coming directly out of high school.
That's wonderful. So when a student wants to apply to Hawaii Pacific University, how would they go about doing that?
One of the biggest things that I always recommend is they just start on our website. Starting on the website, giving them the basic information required if they're coming from out of state, things that will be required for the university, health clearance, things like that also are always required. Official transcripts, like most schools, will require. We also, for the nursing program, use a secondary application system called the Nursing CAS, CAS, the Common Application System. And that's also on our website as well. That's something they could click onto the link and see from there all the other documents that need to be uploaded to that.
That's wonderful. So let's talk a little bit about the different paths that nurses can take. So for instance, I understand we have a program at HPU for the military. Can we talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. I'm proud to say we actually had a corpsman to Bsn program It was actually initiated a number of years ago and then was kind of put to bed for a while when there weren't enough applicants. It's recently been revived, and we currently have an current enrolled program where we have corpsmen. These are soldiers who, while serving in the military, performed medical military duties that are very similar to that of an LPN. The problem was when these soldiers completed their tours of duty, they never got that recognition. They weren't able to function as LPNs in society.
I'm sorry, what is an LPN?
An LPN or an LVN is a licensed vocational nurse. A licensed vocational nurse normally takes about an 18-month program. It's not a college degree. It's a hands-on type of training. LVNs are often used in more primary care settings, something like the doctor's office or nursing homes. And when a soldier would get out after using all their military medical experience, they weren't able to apply all of that, though they functioned very similar to an LPN. They weren't necessarily able to obtain the license.
I see.
So HPU, together with the military campus programs, we met with and collaborated with a lot of our military campus advisors and actually worked through the military transcripts of these corpsmen. And what we were able to find is when you translate the medical courses that they take, a lot of these courses can qualify as early nursing courses. And we can often have these corpsmen sit for the LPN exam, showing an equivalency that they have at least obtained that level of equivalence and therefore be accepted into the corpsman pathway, similar to the LPN pathway. It's an accelerated nursing program. It works on the assumption that they both have work experience as well as previous education from the military. The most rewarding part for me is to see these soldiers who serve their country finally get recognition for everything that they've done. And when they graduate, they get their RN.
Wonderful.
And a bachelor's degree.
So you said, you mentioned that it was an accelerated program, so it would not be the full nursing program that, like a student that was coming from high school into the nursing program? So
correct.
What
so
would that look
the
like?
student coming from high school normally is going to have to obtain a total of 120 college credits to obtain their bachelor's degree. And on average, that's approximately 4 years. For the person coming in as either an LPN or a corpsman, the assumption is that they have close to half of that degree already. They've already knocked off several semesters prior to their work experience, their LPN education, or their military education. So normally, other than having to take the prerequisites that everyone has to take, the science, the math, once they do that, they on average only take 2 to 3 semesters in order to graduate as a registered nurse.
And then they would sit for those, for the exams that you were talking about, for the board exams?
They would qualify to sit for the exams. We have to follow federal regulation, and so there are a lot of requirements that students don't always understand coming into the program. And that's one of my jobs, is to try to help them understand the why, and giving them a list of understanding so that when they go to sit and file the forms to sit for those boards, that they actually have completed everything that's required so that they can do that successfully.
That's wonderful. So now, what would a nurse, because we talked about nurses that have diplomas or associate degrees. Now, how would they go about getting a bachelor's in nursing science? We
also have another program for people like them. And those people actually would undergo the RN to BSN program. The RN to BSN program recognizes their registered nurse already, that they have already sat for that exam and have passed it successfully. Many of them already have work experience. So again, that also gives them a lot of credit. What we do is look at any previous transcripts. HPU would look at what is transferable for the bachelor's degree. They do still have to, in the end, have that 120 credit to receive their bachelor's. But between the transfer credit department and sitting with myself and going over all of their experience, we would develop, again, a pathway for them that is much more accelerated than the high school student coming into the nursing program.
So what happens then with the LPN, coming back to the LPN, so is that for like the nursing assistants? Is that the same program?
A nursing assistant as in like a certified nursing assistant? An LPN is actually even a higher level than a nursing assistant. Nursing assistants actually go through usually approximately a 6-week course. So that would be the more basic. They perform basic hygiene skills in patients, ambulatory care, things like that. The LPN is allowed to do all of that plus provide medications. And as you continue to work your way up the ladder, you then go to the registered nurse, and then the registered nurse can do all of that plus administer IV medications. And that's the difference in levels. We then still have, and what we also offer at HPU is a graduate nursing degree. And those graduate degrees are called the advanced practice nurse. And that's someone who obtains a master's degree or higher, so a master's or a doctorate. And that can be in nursing. It can also be in a specific area. For example, at HPU, we offer a family nurse practitioner program. So that person would come in with their RN, work into their master's degree, and as they earn their master's degree, they also earn the certificate as a family nurse practitioner. They would have met the requirements to sit for the family nurse practitioner board certification. Upon completion of that, they would be licensed in the state as an advanced practice nurse, an APRN, and also a certified family nurse practitioner.
And that's offered at HPU?
That is offered at HPU.
Is there any other master's programs offered in the nursing department?
We're actually really excited. Dr. Diane Knight, she's done tremendous amount of work in developing the graduate program, and we will be offering very soon a acute care nurse practitioner program. This is new to the island. We have been using acute care nurse practitioners on the mainland, and the difference between the acute care versus primary care is that the acute care nurse practitioner works often in a hospital setting. And currently at Queen's Hospital and at Straub, they are looking to use more acute care nurse practitioners in their settings and have worked with Dr. Knight in developing this acute care nurse practitioner program. So we'll be excited. I believe the first cohort will be starting in fall, I believe, of 15.
Of this year. That's very exciting. Is there a doctorate program for nurses?
There is several doctorate programs on the island at other universities. We are currently undergoing our development of our Doctoral of Nurse Practitioner, Doctorate DNP, our Doctorate of Nursing Practice degree. It is not up and running yet. It's in the development stages. And I believe the goal for the first cohort for taking in, I believe, is fall of 16. But I'm not 100% sure on that, but it is definitely in the making.
Right. So you're a doctor of nursing, and could you tell us a little bit about your degree?
I actually chose a different path. It gets really confusing, and I empathize with my students who don't understand all the different letters that we have behind our name. As nurses, I think I call it alphabet soup. We like to have really long titles and lots of letters. And so I had to get as many letters as I could. So I chose to go with a PhD, which is a doctor in philosophy, with a focus on clinical research. And my focus for clinical research is where I work with patients in the hospital setting, doing research that is changing actual patient care. And again, because I wanted it to be a little different, my degree actually came from the John Burns School of Medicine. So I went through the University of Hawaii, Manoa, but through the John Burns School of Medicine in the Department of Complementary and Alternative Medicine. And following that path, obtained recently my PhD.
Sorry, sorry, it stuck for a second there. In the undergraduate program, coming back to the undergraduate program, are there certain paths that you can take, or is it a generalist nurse that is the undergrad? Because we were talking about the master's, you were saying there's different paths. Is there a specific path that the undergrads take, or is it just a generalist nurse that?
The undergraduate student, and that's normally the student coming in from high school without a previous degree, would be entering in our program. We give recommended pathways. Students are always at liberty to try to change where and what semesters they attempt to take their earlier gen ed courses. But the general ed courses are usually the only ones that they can actually alter. Once you start the nursing program, nursing courses are scaffolded based on experience and levels. And so once a student starts into the nursing program, they will be expected to follow those levels of the pathway that we have developed.
Thank you very much. So we're going to take a break, and we'll be back in a few minutes. Thank you.
Aloha, my name is Meli and I'm the host of the Empower Hour. If you're interested in health, nutrition, fitness, here on the island of Oahu, want to learn more about places to train at or different trainers available, then watch my show on Fridays at 3. We have a great time, and I hope that you'll come join us. Much aloha. Now go get swole.
Aloha, I'm Hunter Hevlin, host of Sustainable Hawaii here at ThinkTech Hawaii. You can tune in every week on Thursday at 2 p.m. to see interviews with sustainability professionals from around the state and even further abroad, learning about activities with water management, food security, waste management, and a whole host of other fascinating opportunities to get engaged with making a greener island. So if you're interested in making the transition from consuming individuals to communities of producers, check us out every Thursday.
Aloha, my name is Josh Green. I'm a senator from the Big Island. I work in the ER there. But on Tuesday afternoons, I get to come and spend 45 minutes to an hour with Jay Fidel and the ThinkTech staff. They're terrific professionals. They help us to bring some of the leading cutting-edge topics here across our state to you. So you can join us at our show on healthcare in Hawaii to talk with leaders from across all the spectrum of health in our state, or you can join us for any other show where we talk about economic development or tourism or some really eclectic programs too. So really, we'd love to see you here on our show. Thanks for joining us and thanks for supporting us.
Aloha and welcome back to Global Connections. I am with Dr. Almeida here from Hawaii Pacific University, and my name is Michelle Higgins, and I am an assistant professor. So Dr. Almeida, we were talking about the paths of students in HPU to become registered nurses. I want to talk a little bit about the students in general. What are the students like? You know, what is the energy like? What is the program like? What kind of things do we offer the students in the nursing program?
Well, some of the interesting parts about being at HPU is most students will tell you that we are extremely diverse, which has made it excellent when you're trying to teach cultural diversity in a nursing program. What better way than to look out at the classroom and find, 10 different states or 10 different countries represented just within your classroom. So that helps a lot. The fact that the students bring their own experiences, their own cultures, they help educate each other. So that has a lot to do with the type of students that we see. I think the other part, though, we talked about earlier was why do they get into nursing? And, how do they choose nursing? When you ask nurses in general why they became a nurse, you can get a wide variety of answers. And it's amazing, and it's really actually fun to listen to, why people chose nursing. Or some people will say that nursing chose them. And I think it's important that all students who are even considering nursing be sure that within themselves that helping people is that ultimate goal, that has to exist in all of that, no matter what type of nursing they want to do. And that's another thing, because there's so many different types of nursing. And so sometimes a student will come to me and say, well, I know I want to be a nurse, but I don't really know what kind. And I explain that that's okay. You shouldn't know that yet. You haven't been there yet. But once you start going through your process of education and you will do your different clinical settings, you're going to find where your heart belongs and where you feel that you fit. You're going to find some students, they dread going into pediatrics. And after they've done their first pediatric rotation, realize like it's not what they thought it was, and they absolutely loved it. I've had other students who never thought that they'd like to be in the operating room, and after they experienced that was like, oh my gosh, like that's what I want to do. I want to strive to do that when I get done. So I try to encourage them that they be open-minded, come looking at it as you're going to experience everything new through fresh eyes. And this way, as they go through that process, it's going to help them to be more receptive to receiving the different things that they see and learn. And that path will prove itself. I know that another common thread that a lot of the students talk about is when coming to school is that they're concerned about, but am I going to do well and am I going to get a job when I'm done? And one of the biggest things in nursing, and one of the most positives, is that there are so many types of nursing. And so to say that you might not get a job in one field, but you can in another, is incredible. It opens up too many opportunities. I think the hardest thing I see now for my students is when they call and say, I've just gotten 3 job offers and I don't know what to do. And I say, it's hard. I'm glad I don't have to make the decisions for them. But that's the part where it becomes, you know, more difficult for them, is that now they have to narrow it down. It has a lot to do with families, where their families take them, their career paths, where they lived before, whether they're international or not. We do have some international students where visas will matter, where they're going to work, if they have a visa, if it'll be a working visa or a school visa. So all of those things are taken into consideration when they're trying to decide what type of job will I go for when I'm done. But again, coming into nursing, there's no reason to ever leave. Once you become a nurse, what I tell everyone is, though you might start to feel nursing burnout in one field, there's so many other types of nursing that you simply start another position as a nurse, and it's as though you've just started a whole new career because you're learning something totally new and different.
Absolutely, and I strongly believe in what you just said, and just doing academia, being a professor is a whole different part of nursing to change the role instead of being at the bedside and caring for patients. We are now teaching our new generation of nurses to follow in our footsteps, and that is, I find, very fulfilling.
And that's funny you should say that, because one of the latest articles states that when you interview potential nursing students, and when we ask them, what type of nurse do you think you'd like to be, routinely, none of them actually offer up as a nurse educator.
Right.
But we're realizing too that sometimes that's an early calling for a new nurse, and that there are those people who do fit that whole niche of helping educate the future of the nurse. And so there's education in nursing. There's bedside patient care nursing. There's community nursing. There's public health nursing, psychiatric nursing. I mean, it goes on and on and on. There's so many different types. And so when a student comes to me, maybe they've gone through their first or second level of nursing and they're nervous, and they start to say, you know, I'm not sure if this is for me. I ask them to go back to think about, why did they want to be a nurse in the first place? Right. And if it was because I have this passion, I just want to help people, I feel great when I can help someone, I ask them to hang on to that thought and continue to try the other specialties, because as they go through the nursing program, they just might not have been exposed yet to the calling that they have. And once they get there, they'll feel much more settled in that area.
Right. So speaking of, you mentioned clinical areas or clinical rotations. Can we talk a little bit more about that? What kind of experiences do the students get, and do they get into the hospital? Do they work, you know, on patients, and at what level do they do that?
Well, obviously, in today's day and age, we really want to encourage practice before patients, before real people. Mm-hmm. And so the great part that we have now is we have a high-fidelity simulation lab at the school. And this allows us the opportunity to take students who are nervous, scared, afraid to touch a real person, right, and to give them the chance to do this in a lab setting with the professors in a non-threatening environment where we can go over the skills that they're going to need in the hospital setting, in the patient care area, so that they can do all this, get their nerves worked out, go over what should be or shouldn't be done when they get to the hospital setting. So we start a lot more with simulation and using that simulation to be a helpful teaching tool. Once we've gone through a lot of those phases, we gradually work students up into, we use hospital settings as one of our larger clinical areas, but we also do home care settings, community settings, psychiatric settings. So again, based on the specialties in the area, the students can be all over the island, literally. Students go anywhere from the North Shore hospitals to all the way to the South Waikiki Health Center area.
So what would a day look like for a student going into a hospital? So how big is the cohort that goes in there? Is it a large group? Is it a small group? And then what would their day look like? Like, would they be working one-on-one with a patient?
It has a lot. Yeah, it has a lot to do with what level of nursing student they are. Obviously, the lower level, the less independence they'll have. There'll be much more teacher observation, And because again, we're trying to be sure that they are working up on those skills of patient care before they're allowed to do more and more. The goal is by the end of their senior level is that they are sometimes allowed to do this preceptorship. The preceptorship has been incredible. It is being offered by the actual hospitals where the hospital nurse is perhaps looking to increase their educational portfolio and offer themselves as a preceptor one-on-one to a student. And what will happen is that senior nursing student gets to work with that preceptor on a one-on-one basis, following that nurse's actual work schedule. Sometimes they'll work night shift, they'll work weekends, they'll work days. But the experiences that those students obtain are just invaluable. They couldn't normally have seen that sometimes when they're with us Monday through Friday. We have a more traditional setting for even the senior level student where they would be with us. It's usually a 1-to-8 ratio in the clinical setting, in the hospital setting, where the instructor is with a total of 8 students. Those 8 students aren't necessarily all on the floor. 1 or 2 students might be sent off into different areas for observation, observing in the emergency room or observing in the operating room that day. And then the other 6 students would be working with the instructor on the floor.
That sounds amazing. So, and what are the students, what are their comments? Like, how are they, what is their feedback about those experiences? Do you have any to share with us?
I can tell you even from our own experiences, right? That when you're a nursing student, those clinical experiences define who you are and who you become. I can think back to a number of years, and I'll decline how many number of years, but a number of years of my clinical experiences and how it was those experiences that helped me decide what path I would follow when I finally graduated and where I wanted to go once I got my degree. So I feel that that part is all still the same. Students will have something that triggers them in a clinical experience, something that pulls them to one specific area that gets them really excited and passionate about their potential nursing career as they finish.
Wonderful. So in the nursing program, talking about the students again, what kind of activities do we have for students? Like, is there special ceremonies? Is there things like that that we have for them?
We actually, I believe we're going to have some pictures coming up. We did bring a couple pictures. We have pictures of our white coat ceremony. We actually just recently received a grant that offers the assistance to provide the white coat ceremony for our new nursing students. The white coat ceremony historically was offered to medical students, young men and women who were entering the medical profession when they would obtain their white coat. We are now performing the white coat ceremony for incoming level 1 nursing students. It's the time when that nursing student makes a commitment to themselves and to the future patients that they'll be caring for. It's a really neat way to say, I'm in this for the long haul and I really want to do this.
So it's a very special ceremony.
It's a special ceremony. We encourage family, if they are local, to come and observe, to see them get their white coats. We try to encourage them, and we talk about the white coat and the importance of the white coat and what it means, importantly, for our patients.
Right.
You know, patients see that person with the white coat as that trusting person. And we want them to understand that with that white coat comes a lot of responsibility. And we want to be sure that they accept that responsibility as they're entering into our program.
That's wonderful. And so do we have any other programs? Do nurses do travel? Like, do they do exchange programs with any other universities?
Yes. We actually have, we do several exchanges. We actually have a Japanese exchange that we do. Dr. Patty Lang-Otsuko, our associate dean, has worked with a Japanese university where normally during these summer months, I believe they come for approximately 1 week, and the Japanese nursing students will come to observe our university, our simulation lab. They get to spend a day in the lab. They also spend a day in our classrooms. And what we've done, and I've actually lectured for one, is I lecture as though I'm lecturing a normal nursing course, and there's a translator present, and they get to experience what it's like for an actual American nursing student to go through our program. It's always interesting, the questions they ask. And when they see our simulation lab, they love, they love to play with the simulation lab. Not all the universities where they're at have that type of access. And so to see the high fidelity mannequins that we have and the things that they can perform and do, I find they get all excited and have a lot of questions by the time they leave the simulation lab. In turn, some of our students have actually gone to Japan as well.
Wonderful.
And they've got to observe their type of school, their settings, and then the patients in the hospitals that they actually care for, and the different in healthcare systems and how different it is compared to ours. We have that. We also have another exchange locally, where we, not locally, but I'm sorry, on the mainland, where we are working with Case Western students out in Ohio. And we have several coming again this semester. We had several last semester. Those students come to complete their last semester of nursing. They do their last med-surg rotation and their community nursing with us here on the island. So they get a huge exposure to the Hawaiian communities and bring back so much more to their state of Ohio, where they can talk about everything they learned when they were here with us. What's interesting is those students also normally will give a presentation to our students, describing things that they have back in Ohio that we might not experience here in our systems. So there's that exchange between the students that is excellent and is provided for good networking for all of them. There's also, we also have our Student Nurse Association, the SNA. Our Student Nurse Association, what we're trying to do is really incorporate even those pre-nursing students. We find that they they're so busy doing their prereqs that they don't always get enrolled into the SNA, but we're hoping to get them more actively involved.
Excellent. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be back. You're watching Global Connections, and we'll see you in a few minutes. Thank you.
Hi, Jay.
Hi, Keith.
My name's Keith Bettinger.
I knew that.
And I'm the host of ThinkTech Asia.
I knew that too.
Here on ThinkTech.
Fabulous. You got a great show going, Keith.
Thank you very much. And for our viewers out there that are interested in ThinkTech Asia, it airs every Tuesday from 4 to 4:45, and it can be accessed online at thinktech.com.
Yeah, so what kind of guests you like?
Well, we have a number of guests from academia, from practitioners of international affairs. Sometimes we have military officials. Sometimes we have public officials on the show. And our goal, we try to talk about current issues in South Asia, Southeast Asia, East Asia, and Central Asia, all throughout the Asian realm, in more depth than you would find in traditional mainstream
That's
media.
the difference, isn't it?
Exactly.
That you're reaching out beyond what ordinary news media would do.
Right.
That's why we like you so much.
We're trying to provide a thinking person's perspective, an intelligent perspective on what's going on, and we're both sides of the story, or even when there's more than two sides, we try to cover every angle. And I think that's one of the big benefits that we provide here at ThinkTech. Is it's a really innovative source of educational programming for the people of Hawaii.
You're great, Keith. You are a great host. You got a great show going on. I watch it every week.
Thanks very much.
Why don't you guys watch it every week too, okay?
4:45 to 4 to 4:45 every Tuesday.
Hi, welcome back. My name is Michelle Higgins. I am assistant professor at Hawaii Pacific University. We are on Global Connections. Today we have Dr. Almeida with us, and we're talking about the nursing program, how the paths to get to nursing, and what HPU has to offer. So we were talking before our break a little bit about the white coat ceremony, and I'm wondering, what comes first, a white coat ceremony or graduation, and how does that work?
So to clarify, the white coat ceremony is normally done as you enter into the nursing program. It's our form of commitment from the nursing student that they're making a commitment to themselves, to our university, and also to our patients, future patients, that they are going to take seriously their education, that they take seriously the fact that they will be entrusted of patient care, and that white coat comes with that responsibility. And so we find that putting on that white coat is a great way to help them realize this is the new path that they're choosing, and this is how they start. Graduation is obviously the completion, and that is the icing on the cake. You'll see just currently we have a picture of Zach Drury. He was our valedictorian who I actually say I nominated. I was so excited that he got picked to represent the undergraduate program at HPU, and he did an outstanding job in his valedictorian speech. Zach is a perfect example of someone who has followed a bunch of different paths and found this passion for nursing. He's actually a musician and was in the military band.
Wow.
And he tells his story during his speech about how during a hike, him and some friends got trapped in a canyon, and how they relied on the medical help that they received, and how those people he felt so indebted to, and he felt this need to want to be one of those people. And that's what made him want to follow that path into nursing. Zach has been an awesome leader. Having him be valedictorian was just, you know, again, it was almost like a no-brainer. We all would want to vote for someone like Zach. I find a lot of our nursing students are born leaders. It's just who they are. It makes for a good nurse. They are going to be the one that organizes the patient floor, the patient load, the patient assignments. And with these students, they go on to do great things, and that's what's so awesome. We're seeing a bunch of pictures again of our recent graduates, and of course, a time for graduation for nursing students, so much of what nursing students have to do is serious, and when we're on the patient floors, it has to be serious. So to see the students during graduation when they decorate their caps, you know, it's really pretty cute, and it's fun, and it's a chance for them to let loose a little bit, because that heavy stress of all the studying is finally done. And all that stress from the studying, from the exams, finally can be a little bit of ease, a little bit of pressure off, as graduation completes, that then they start preparing for their actual board exam.
Right.
And so though it's not totally over, it's still a chance for them to relax and enjoy all the hard work that they put into the degree.
Excellent. So coming back a little bit, we talked about the SNA, the student,
Yep.
and so
the SNA for the Student Nurse Association, Zach Drury, our valedictorian, was instrumental in working with several other nursing schools here on the island and reviving again the Hawaii chapter Student Nurse Association. And in doing that, they brought together Chaminade University, UH, and I believe, I'm not sure if there was also some nursing students from University of Phoenix involved in that Hawaii chapter SNA. These students got together, they were able to network, and with the faculty support of each university, these students traveled to the mainland to the national convention. At the national convention, these students all came back with stories to share and tell. They were amazed about how important nursing was, not just as a career, but what it does to society in general. It was so enlightening that they got a chance to realize that their future nursing careers, if they should become involved with legislation, for example, will have an impact in healthcare and policy. And so it's great to finally see the students get to make those connections. And working with SNA is one of those ways that the students get to do that. I'm just hoping that we can really start pulling in our pre-nursing students, because if we can get them involved sooner, I think they'll feel that connection sooner, and then they'll have a better time.
Well, that was actually my next question. For the SNA, is it only for senior students, but you're now saying that we can actually bring the pre-nursing.
Yep.
And when you say pre-nursing students, what does that mean?
So pre-nursing students are students who have applied to HPU on the goal of obtaining a nursing degree. They're not actually accepted into the nursing program yet. They haven't completed all their prerequisites. And so being a pre-nursing student means that I am attempting to get a nursing degree. I am on that path. I'm just not far enough along in my education to actually apply for the nursing program yet.
So, but as a pre-nursing student, they can still join the
They can actually
Student
enjoy
Nurses
the Student Nurse Association, yes. And that's a way of trying to help them connect with students who may have already gone through the different levels, and can actually mentor them up through the ranks as they continue to go on their education.
That's wonderful. And so, and it's very encouraging to hear that the students are reaching out to other nursing students from other colleges and universities. And do they do any other programs together, or what?
Yep. We also have our International Nursing Honor Society.
Mm-hmm.
It's the Sigma Theta Tau, is an International Nursing Honor Society, and students who reach, I believe, approximately their junior year are eligible to apply, and actually it's an invited level, and normally it's the top third GPA of that nursing class is invited by the International Nursing Honor Society to become members. At that induction, all those students are brought together from all the different universities. And during the induction, a chance for them to meet, and again, perhaps maybe swap stories or information to network, because maybe both, these two students are going back to the same state on the mainland,
right,
and will be dealing with licensing issues, and maybe one can help the other, and how did you go through all your licensing applications, things like that. So it's a great way, again, for them to network and to be able to meet others who are going through the same things they are.
right.
I know sometimes nursing students feel very isolated when they're stuck in their studies and they're cramming for their exams, and they feel that life is passing them by. I try to encourage them to remember that it's a short period of time that they'll feel like that. Upon graduation, life will go on. They don't believe me in the beginning, but it will. But what's nice is when they meet those other nursing students from other colleges, they find that they're all in the same boat together. And it helps give them that support.
Right. Well, and nursing is a community. We are, there's over 3 million of us in the United States, and we have a huge network. And then starting those new networks early in the career, I think, is a very, very positive thing, and it's going to set them up for life, I think. Is there anything else that you would like to talk about? Is there?
Well, I mean, I appreciate you having me today. I appreciate the chance to talk about our programs. We have, I'm not often available if I'm not always in my office, but people are always welcome to reach out by email. Again, our website has a lot of information as well for someone who's interested in the nursing program or who has more inquiry questions. We also even have the military academic advisors. So for those military personnel who are trying to see if they qualify for our corpsman program, Mr. Kalani Villarin, he works as one of our military campus advisors. I often hand out his email so that students can speak with him first, because he has that military background to help.
And can you give us that email? Do you know what?
I don't know the email off the top of my head, no.
And the website?
But basically our HPU website, so it's hpu.edu. When you click on our website, third to the left, it talks about majors that we offer. When a person clicks on that, you'll see nursing. Once they click on nursing, my beautiful picture will pop up. And on the right-hand column is a list of all the different programs that we offer. And we even have frequently asked question fact sheets that can help answer a lot of their questions.
Okay. And so, are students that, or potential students, are they welcome to come to the campus?
Oh, absolutely. On average, routinely, I probably see about 15 students a month. What'll happen, students will come visiting in from the mainland, and they will arrange for a tour of the university. Upon the arranging of the tour, I will get a confirmation appointment that someone wants to speak with me about the nursing program. Oftentimes, students are coming from the mainland. They might be bringing parents and families, and I'll sit and talk with them to describe our program and what would be expected of them.
Wonderful. Well, that's it for us today. Thank you very much, Dr. Almeida, for coming to visit with us.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, you're welcome. My name, again, is Michelle Higgins-Mahe. I am assistant professor at Hawaii Pacific University, here for Global Connections. Thank you very much.